Okay. Well, if you guys listened to an episode a few days ago, or I don't remember what episode.
It was actually the last
2 episodes.
Oh, fucking
Falcon over here said that Mikey was gonna die because he called dibs on his mom.
And I wasn't lying. So I'm now the co-host.
And I guess I'm the host. I'm Petey.
I'm Falcon.
So welcome to another episode of Reckless Nonsense.
Yeah. Now there is only 2.
I think
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. we started with 5.
We acquired the studio too.
Yes, we did acquire his studio. Fuck you, nerd! Oh, hello!
No, yeah, he's not here to do it himself anymore, so...
We'll just use his sound effect.
Yeah, see, we got plenty.
Alright. Well...
It's the topic for today. Oh, he's alive!
Hey, wait! What the hell?
You have an evil twin brother I accidentally killed? Or... That's what you get, fucker.
Oh, hey guys. Sorry, it was quite a drive to get back from Falcon's house.
Oh!
Your mom says hi.
Your mom says hi.
Jinx!
Well, hey, so welcome back to an actual episode of Reckless Nonsense. I'm actually the host, Mike. I'm not dead. Check us out on Twitter at Rec Nonsense and on Facebook, Reckless Nonsense. And then, obviously, check out the YouTube videos if you haven't. If you're just listening to the audio only, we do post on YouTube. Video versions, Reckless Nonsense podcast.
Yeah.
You search it on there, Big Rubber Chicken. It's pretty sweet. And you'll see this beautiful face.
Carolina was supposed to get us that rubber chicken.
Yeah, so let's not count on that. He's out rolling sod somewhere in the heat.
If anybody would like to donate to our Rubber Chicken Fund, the one we want is not cheap for a rubber chicken.
It's big, though. It's a
very,
massive
very
rubber
big.
chicken.
We have talked about changing the location of our studio, so maybe the next time you see us, and maybe things will look a little different.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big move. I mean, it's going to take a long time. It's going to cost a lot of money.
I know. It's 10 feet?
8?
You give her feet. Yeah. The table will be about a 10, 12-foot move. It's a big shift. A lot of movements.
Yeah, but, we're hoping to put a little decoration on it and...
Make it look pretty.
Yeah.
Church it up.
Church it up.
Yeah.
Church it up.
All right, so did we talk about what the topic was yet?
No, because you were dead and we were...
I'm not dead. But these things might make you dead.
I'll make sure to use at least one of them on you.
So the topic is antiquated torture. Things that we've
Is it
done.
antiquated, though, or are we just...
The ones that I have are all things that, well, except for one of them, are things that people used to do to torture each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Except for, I think one of them was still in use. I don't even think I wrote that one down. Nope, I didn't.
But the one from China?
Yeah, the one in China. The tiger chair? Was it a tiger chair?
Sounds
Where
about
they
right.
strap your legs down and then they break your knees. I don't know. We'll get to that.
Oh, that was like the knee. Oh, yeah.
It was a tiger chair.
That's a pretty recent one.
Yeah, it was started use in 1992, and you didn't hear that wrong. It wasn't 1892, or it's 1992.
Go China.
Or 1492?
Nope.
When
Definitely
Columbus sailed the ocean blue?
only like 1 year younger than me.
Oh.
So I don't know. I have a bunch of different torture methods and then specific torture devices that I found that are more interesting. That ones that I may have heard of, but didn't exactly know what they were.
Yeah.
So I read a whole lot about it, but
I took notes because there's some really.
The
moral of the story is humans are really fucked up. Like we do a lot of fucked up stuff to each other.
The fuck is this? I'm looking stuff up.
Random. Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So we're just gonna get random shit from the fucking Chrome ads and everything in the podcast. That's awesome.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, we'll get. Yep. Pretty much. I mean, it's not like random shit don't come from that computer, anyways.
I can play a sound effect and I'll play it twice.
Try it. Hit me.
What, a sound effect?
Yeah.
I played one earlier and it went through just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was parking my car in the garage, so.
Oh, okay. How? There's no tires.
Your mom says hi. Jinx.
Your mom helped me run flats. All right. Anyhow. You smell that? Here. So I got a couple that people may have heard of, and then some that they didn't know the names for that some people may have heard of, like keel hauling. Have you ever heard of keel hauling?
No.
So, like, it's used in conversation, like, when you keel haul somebody, like, fuck them over. But keel hauling is where, like, when a sailor was to be punished for something, They would tie them to a rope and throw them over the front of the ship, which I don't know parts of ships. There's probably a word for that. There is. You throw them over the front of the ship, and as the ship sails, they basically just smack against the hull of the ship.
Oh, Jesus.
And then sometimes you pull them up. Most of the time you don't.
You just
and you get torn up by the barnacles and everything, and you drown, obviously, because you're underwater. You get smacked around down there, and you die.
So you just, yeah.
It's not a good time. But yeah, keel hauling.
It's
one of the ones I've heard of.
That's interesting.
That I think is interesting.
Very interesting.
it's pirate torture.
Yeah, one of
Yeah,
the ones.
fun.
Another torture method that I hadn't heard of that I thought was really interesting was called blowing from a gun.
Oh, yep. It's pretty funny.
So basically, they strap you to a cannon. They load the cannon. They strap you to the cannon, so your midsection or your torso is covering the muzzle of the gun, and then they fire it. Which to me doesn't sound like so much a torture method,
really torture.
as
No,
is a way to execute somebody.
you're just
a lot of these end up just being executions.
We can call that disembowelment.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that from a ship as well?
Well, no, it's just, I mean, they have cannons all over the place.
Well,
man.
they do.
Back in the day, we don't really have cannons anymore.
Back in the day when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Some days I just wish I was a kid again.
What was that?
It's a song.
I've never heard that. What is that? You have to remember, we're not as old as you are. Like, by a long shot. You could practically be our dads.
Dad?
I guess... Not really. Fuck you.
All right, so what are some of you guys found?
I don't know.
Am I just doing the whole episode then? You guys are going to comment? Or?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of these aren't even just straight torture, though. It's like all, like... It's torturing you while you die.
Yeah. So, I have two that are on the same thread, but they're different in the way they're the same method, but they're a little bit different with the implementation. One's called the Spanish donkey, and one's called the Judas cradle. Judas cradle and the Spanish donkey. So the Spanish donkey is essentially, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a sawhorse is, right?
Yeah.
So you use it to prop up stuff when you're working.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a sawhorse, but it had a
Sure.
had a point on the top of the sawhorse instead of being flat.
Yeah.
And what they do is they would straddle you over the point. Oh, yeah. And they would weight your legs and then tie your arms up so you couldn't, escape. And they would weight your legs and they would continuously add more and more weight until essentially you were ripped in half. And then the Judas cradle, a little bit worse because it was a pyramid instead of a sawhorse.
Oh.
And then they sat you on the pyramid and did essentially the same thing.
Bunghole.
Yeah. Lots of... Those are gross.
I mean, there's also the saw.
Yeah. Where they would just...
They hang you upside down by your feet and
Yeah.
start at your ass and saw down to your head.
Oh, yeah.
And the blood flows down to your head to keep you alive the whole time you're getting sawed in half.
I assume you go into shock and pass
Oh,
out.
no, there was like the whole point of it was so the blood...
Well, yeah.
It's so you don't die right away.
And the thing is to go into... What do you do if someone starts to go into shock? And this isn't a trick question.
Go ahead.
You raise their feet up.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of... I'm not saying they wouldn't go into shock. That's pretty traumatic, I suppose.
So, one of my favorites, which is kind of a fucked up thing to say, one of the ones I found the most interesting would be the better way to say this, is called scaphism. It's an ancient Persian method of execution. So it's execution, but it's torturous, in which the condemned was placed between two boats. So if you can imagine a boat is sitting as a boat should.
Yeah, I remember.
And then the other boat is then mirrored on top of it to make like a clamshell, if you will. And then they would tie you up and throw you in it. And then they would float it in a stagnant pond. And they would force you to drink milk and honey. And it would give you diarrhea, severe diarrhea, which would attract insects from the stagnant pond, which would then burrow and nest and feed on you. And then eventually you die from septic shock after a very long time because they keep force feeding you. And the bugs just keep getting at you. There was another one, I think it was called the barrel. It was the same thing, but they would seal you in a barrel with your head sticking out of it. And they would do the same thing where essentially you're floating in your own diarrhea and bugs would keep...
So this was one of my favorite ones, and We had talked about it, but real quick, the Brazen Bull.
Yep.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
and the reason why I think, well, first off, I'll go ahead and explain it. It was basically a bronze, hollowed out bull,
Like a statue.
like a
Shaped
statue,
bull.
sure. And you would put someone in there, and they're already in that uncomfortable position.
Uh-huh.
You would seal the door that was there.
The booty hole or whatever.
Yeah, where I would assume that.
Like a reverse Ace Ventura.
yes. And then they would start fires around them, so they would heat up inside that bronze statue, with the fires and everything. And they said that people would, scream and they would thrash, and it would actually make the statue kind of come to life, like it was actually a bull. And so that was interesting. But the person who made it actually got killed that way with it. They actually put the dude who made it in there, and then the guy who commissioned him to make it was also killed inside his own, creation.
That's awful. I can't imagine. That would be awful. Because it's not just like you're
would
burning
be
your...
awful.
You're being baked.
But that's kind of like karma, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Like, fuck you.
For making this awful fucking contraption.
Yeah, that
Now
was
we're
one
gonna
of
put you in it.
That was one of the ones I had under my torture device section. Another device is the choke pear, which essentially, let's see. Oh, we were going to talk about this at the beginning. Don't let your kids listen to this show in general, but definitely don't let them listen to this
yeah, we
one.
should have put a disclaimer.
Yeah, like we already missed that by about 10
yeah,
minutes.
we fucked that up.
This
Well,
one's so bad.
Certainly, don't let them watch it. There's going to probably be some fairly
Graphic imaging.
photos, depending on what I find.
Yeah, don't.
Knee
yeah.
splitter?
Oof. All right, so the choke pear, it kind of looked like a balloon, right? Like think about a balloon before it's inflated. It's kind of like, it's a balloon shape, and it's kind of what it did. So what it was made out of metal, and it was like a little hot air balloon shape, like a pear, and they would insert it in an orifice, generally the mouth, and it would crank open. And the only way it would crank open or close is with the key. So what they would do is they'd put it in a person's mouth or another orifice and crank it to the appropriate tension that they wanted it to be. And then it would gag you if it was in your mouth, and then you couldn't speak, and then eventually you'd starve to death or whatever, depending on how they wanted you to suffer.
Oof. Yeah, here we go. It's also called the Pear of Anguish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I'm sure you can throw a picture up of what a choke pear is.
Yeah, let me find a good one.
There are a lot of gross ones because
Ouch.
they came in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Some of
Yeah,
them were
they do.
smooth, some of them were spiked. It's a bad time, and you don't want that in your orifices.
Oh, man.
Not nearly the grossest one we found though.
No.
You and I both had the same reaction to this one.
Yes.
The spider is one of the names.
Oh, me and you.
The breast ripper
Ugh.
is another name.
Yeah, I watched you both just look at that
And just shudder because it's disgusting. So this is for women who are accused of adultery, abortion, or any other crime. And what they would do is it's a claw-like device with spikes on the end. It was heated and used to rip off or shred a woman's breasts.
And I was reading about it. They would use it on females who... Did you already say this?
Yeah,
I wasn't paying attention.
adultery, abortion.
And something else. Oh, unmarried mothers.
Okay.
Okay.
And then they had a...
Yeah, it seems like a fair thing. Yeah, definitely.
Then they had a different one that was similar to that too. That was shoot. I don't know. It's hard to picture what they're saying sometimes. I didn't want to search some of these things where I was doing my research. Not
like in a Starbucks?
yeah.
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 You wouldn't want people
Yeah.
looking over your shoulder and seeing the things that are on your screen.
Oh God, no.
So there's the molten or heated metal. You ever seen Game of Thrones? It's like the first season.
Oh, yeah, when Khal Drogo dumps the pot of gold over.
Yeah, that was actually
here's your
a
crown.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually a thing.
Yeah.
That actually, Man in the Iron Mask, I think, was that. Was it not? Did they not do that in that movie? It's an older movie.
I don't think
I've seen that,
they
but I
don't
don't
think
remember
they
that.
did.
I definitely remember from Game of Thrones.
But yeah, they would.
Yeah, because it's way more recent.
They would do it for people who were like thirsty for wealth or, whatever, and they would pour it down their fucking throat or all over their head or
That's
so
wicked, man.
yeah.
Ugh. You two discuss amongst yourselves.
You're gonna.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh Jesus!
Ooh,
All right, so
filleting.
it's just you and I.
They would fillet people.
Yeah, where you basically just strip off their skin, and eventually they, die.
Yeah.
Another one that I found that was kind of interesting. It's called like the dunking chair or something like that. Essentially, it was like a teeter-totter, and on the one side is a chair, and on the other side is a rope, and they would sit a woman in the chair, and they'd swing it out over like a body of water, and they would dunk her repeatedly.
What's so wrong with waterboarding?
Essentially, it was waterboarding in a chair, and it was used to quote calm their fiery tempers. So, like, if a lady had a bad attitude, they'd dunk her until she had a better attitude.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I think it's called the dunking chair or something like that. I was like, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, no shit.
A lot of these torture devices from my research are, like, a lot of them were aimed at women. Like, women were, second, third class citizens in the times that these things were used.
Yeah, no shit. I like the iron chair.
Okay, is that...
Because there's two versions of this.
Yeah.
There's the iron chair, or the torture chair, or whatever, which is basically just a chair, all kind of different, but they all have some form of straps, with spikes all over the fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd sit you in it, and then crank the restraints down more and more, so there's spikes all over your fucking legs, arms, back, everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like a meat tenderizer. Just
yeah,
on your
pretty
person.
much. And then you may or may not survive, but then you later die from infection and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
The other version of that is the Chinese torture chair, which is 3 blades on the back. Yeah, it's 3 like swords on the back, like 3 or 4 on the seat, and then like 3 on your feet. Same principle, but like just you're getting filleted. Like,
more extreme.
Yeah. Some rusty ass.
Here's another one I thought was good. There are a bunch of different references to this one throughout history. It's called this one's called the Angry Rat Box. And it's pretty much what that sounds like. They put you in a box with a bunch of rats that they've starved, and eventually rats get hungry. And when they're hungry, they're angry. And when you're the only other thing in the box, you get eaten by rats.
I've seen in movies, speaking of something like that.
I wrote a note on the bottom of this, and in pop culture, in Too Fast, Too Furious...
I was just about to say
this is a variation of that where he took a bucket and he put a rat on the guy's chest and put the bucket on and started heating the bucket.
Yeah.
And the rat won't let itself just burn to death. It's going to figure out which surfaces it can claw through, and it'll claw through it. And that's why the guy's chest ended up being, like hamburger meat.
Yeah.
Because the rats don't want to die. That's essentially yeah. Ugh.
Does anyone want to actually die? Well, yeah.
It's a bad time. That's not a good time.
No. That's pretty gross. Ooh,
what?
I don't know. I found that this is kind of on the topic, but there's that medieval torture museum in Wisconsin.
Yeah, yep.
We're going.
It's a little bit of a drive away.
Yeah, we're going.
9 hours.
Oof. We could do it.
It's 3 minutes closer to his house than it is to mine. So,
Yeah.
so if we meet at his house,
starting
if we meet at his house, it'll be way longer for you and I. But
Yeah. But you guys can just park over there and or whatever, and we'll figure it out.
why don't we all just drive separate? That way we can leave whenever we want to.
Yeah,
That would be stupid as fuck.
That's some JLR stuff right there.
Yeah. Are we just gonna go out there for dinner or something and
Drive.
We'll go. We won't check the hours. We'll get there. It'll be closed.
Not even open.
Yeah.
Not even open at all.
It's been closed since 2006.
Yeah. And actually, I did look it up to see what it was, and I hate that right now, like everything you look at, it's like hours may differ
Oh, yeah. You
due to
have no fucking
COVID-19.
clue.
And you're like, motherfucker, well, update your shit.
That, or we could all just stop worrying about it.
Well, that's true too, but I'm saying...
Never mind. Let's just keep going. Let's forget that happened. All right. Here's another one that we've seen in movies. Hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Yeah.
Pretty famously in Braveheart.
Oh,
he wasn't hung. Hanged. When you're talking about
It is hanged, yeah.
But so, so in this version, they phase one is the victim is dragged or drawn through town behind a galloping horse to their execution. Phase two, the victim is hanged just enough to be very uncomfortable but not dead. Then they are further tortured, disemboweled, or beheaded, which is Braveheart. He was disemboweled and beheaded. And then phase three is they're cut into 4 different pieces or quartered, which generally they would tie each of your limbs to a horse and then shoo them in all different directions. And generally it helps that you've been disemboweled at this point because then there's a lot less sinew holding you together. Yeah, that's a rough way to go. Pretty gruesome.
I'm gonna be honest. I think damn near any of these would be a rough way to go.
I mean, I think that should be an interesting conversation. Which one would you pick?
I mean, there's always slow slicing.
Is that where they just repeatedly cut you with a blade? Like Death by 1,000 Cuts?
Oof.
Yep. Yeah, they just slowly, methodically removing portions of the body over an extended period of time.
Oh, like Law-Abiding Citizen.
Yeah.
When he cuts up the guy that molested his kid and raped his wife.
Oh, yeah.
So, have either one of you ever read any of the Jack Reacher books by Lee Child? They made 2 movies about it.
I've read
No.
about, I don't know, 5.
So one of them, he ambles through a small town like every single one of them, and there's this. He ends up finding out that there's this website being run in this town where
read that one.
people. You read this one?
Did not.
Okay, so these people are running it's essentially torture porn, and you can pay to have a specific looking person have horrible things done to them, and one of them was a guy. He wanted to watch a person get a death by 1,000 cuts, so cut him with a, whatever, 1,000 times before they die. And then there's all kinds of other fuck up stuff involving kids and all this other stuff. And he eventually goes and kills everybody, and good wins at the end.
That's what he does.
But still,
Don't look at my computer screen.
it's all this is all gross. I don't. The last one I have is Strappado, which is what they would do is they would tie your hands behind your back and then raise your hands above your head.
Oof.
So you're extending your arms reverse of how they're supposed to bend.
Oh.
And they would continue doing that until they would break.
Yeah.
And then usually they would let you hang there until you starve to death.
I would... Yeah, so you asked which one would I choose. And I don't really know the answer to that, but I would definitely try and choose something that I would die from faster.
Well, of all the ones actually, I have another one. But all of the ones that I've said so far, I think blowing from a gun.
Yeah, I would choose that.
Keel hauling. I think you'd die pretty quick. You'd drown pretty fast. You would drown pretty fast. If they submerge, but if they don't submerge your head underwater,
then you're screwed.
Yeah, but you might be able to knock yourself unconscious.
Yeah, but then you got to do that. You have to make an effort to do.
Sure. So that's not good.
I'll take stoning.
Oh no,
no,
because stoning.
I know you may die quick or you may not.
No, because stoning, people think oh, they're gonna throw a giant rock.
No, they throw a shit ton of little ones at you.
They're gonna throw a shit ton of little ones at you until you can't take it anymore.
Which I actually was reading about. Also, the stockades.
Yeah.
And they put your hands and your head through.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Like at Cedar Point where you can photo op.
Yeah, you can do the photo, right? But the problem is so they would use that, and they would use that for sentences. And depending on what your sentence actually was, you would possibly just be there for, a couple hours, and they would just leave you there, and then they would leave you there for the busiest parts of the day, and then obviously the crowd.
Yeah, they throw shit at you.
They throw shit at you, literally shit sometimes. Rotten vegetables, it said, and stones, things like that. Unless you were there They were saying a lot of times they would, like, people who were there for, like, failure to pay their taxes, stuff like that. Like, the crowds would actually celebrate them and, like, give them flowers and things like that, you know, because they were like, yeah, you're sticking it to the man, you know? But then also part of the sentences could be while they put you in the stocks, they would, like, whip you or
lashing. We didn't even think about lashing.
Flagellation.
What?
Flagellation. Like whipping somebody.
Okay.
As punishment.
Or other things up to and including killing you somehow.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. I was reading that. And it's funny because we always it's not funny, but we always see in the movies like the stockades, and yeah, sometimes someone gets a tomato thrown at their face or something like that, but these things were way more wicked than that, and it's weird because they would only leave them there usually for just a couple hours. But depending on how serious their sentence was, they were either dead in a couple hours or they had
But it depends on what
served their time.
How society felt about your crime.
Well, that's how you were treated once you were in the stockade, sure.
Yeah.
By the
General public.
The
ones that are going to be throwing the shit.
Yeah. But if you were also being whipped.
Whipped. Coup-whip.
Yeah. If you were being whipped, then, you know, that was a different part of your sentence. If you were actually going to end up being killed, that was a different part of your sentence. I don't know if you talked about it while I was up there. There was another one. It was a torture device where literally there were 3, like, prongs sticking up, and you put your thumbs in it. Yeah. So your thumbs would be in it.
Thumb screw.
And they would have a thing that come down on it, and they would literally just crank. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, crank.
There's also one for your toes, apparently.
So there is, and there was one for all of your fingers as well.
Yeah. Woo. It's the same thing as what was the knee,
the knee breaker or
knee
crusher,
separator, crusher, whatever it is. Knee splitter. So it's essentially the same thing, but it's bigger. You can fit a leg in it.
So they wouldn't kill you, but I started reading stuff about how torture and confessions worked. You know, waterboarding, basically you're breaking your
one that we haven't even
fingers.
come into is like POW torture, like Vietnam stuff where they shove bamboo underneath your fingernails or rip your fingernails out. Because like this is something that will not kill you, but will cause you so much pain that you can't even imagine.
No, I read a thing. There was an American pilot in World War II that was actually captured after the atomic bombs had been used, and he knew nothing of the Manhattan Project. He knew nothing of however many atomic weapons we had or didn't have, which was 2.
Yeah, at that time.
And
we dropped the last one. It was over with.
Them.
It was a big bluff at that point.
But it is said that in his interrogation, because they were torturing him, he had no information to give, but to satisfy them and keep him from being tortured, he actually told them that we have 100 more atom bombs, and you know, and he's actually credited with bringing that portion of World War II, you know, not totally, but to an end, because they were afraid. Yeah, we'd already dropped 2. Why wouldn't we just keep going? You know.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty
we could hit things that were more populous than Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yes.
You know, hit Tokyo.
Well, Tokyo and those were the 2 that you know, he had said were the targets or something like that.
Well, obviously they were on the target range. We were just starting. You'd start a little bit small and go, "Hey, we could fucking kill all of you."
Right.
We could turn Japan into a crater in the sea, but hey, you know, maybe stop.
So I kind of took a different approach to the research I did with this, because I think that was always interesting. Because, you know, CIA as of late had covered up a lot of stuff and had you know, papers and reports written of how, you know, their torture methods were getting them good information and stuff like that. Right. It has come out since then that they had actually just fabricated those papers so they could continue doing what they're doing, and that they actually didn't get any type of information that had
factual.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember reading an article about it. Like, I don't know the percentages, but generally speaking, the information you get from an interrogation or from a torture interrogation is almost never ever valid.
Because what you're going to say something just to
make the pain
get it to stop, and that's exactly what it said. Because no matter what it is, you're going to make up a story, you're going to confess to something, you're going to do anything you can do to make the pain stop.
Because there's always that chance you really don't fucking know anything.
Yeah,
right.
And you're like, I don't know. And
there are methods. There are methods, I think, that work for interrogation. Because what did we call it? Enhanced interrogation?
Interrogation, yes, but not you can't torture for a confession.
No. Well, plus also, isn't that the Geneva Convention? That you can't torture people mentally or physically. I was reading something about it.
Well,
regardless,
that thing called double standard. Yeah,
and enhanced interrogation techniques like sleep deprivation. That works because you're getting somebody so tired that they don't know where to stop anymore.
Yeah,
and that can work. I'm not saying it does work.
No,
it can though. But
sure,
like waterboarding. Probably not going to work because they don't want to drown anymore.
Right, and that was one of the things that the CIA definitely was using.
Enhanced interrogation technique.
Right.
I remember that. I was young when they started talking about the waterboarding issue. Because I think that came out around, 2006-ish? Because it was...
because it
coming
was
around the height of the war in the Middle East. That was around the time it was peaking.
Sure.
Up until, 2010.
Yeah,
2011, that's when we started receding.
So Iraq went from 2003 to about 2010.
Yeah, so that'd be in the
Afghanistan went on until
14. Well, until we started pulling out.
Officially,
maybe 14.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we're getting approximates here.
It was
Obama was in office.
He put a stop to a lot of shit. He's pretty much the reason I got out.
Obama?
Mm-hmm. I'm not even
Thanks,
joking.
Obama.
I'm not even joking about that.
You're allowed to have your opinion.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
He's the reason 8 brigades out of the Army disappeared.
The Marine Corps got
destroyed too. 8 brigades. Do some research and figure out how many fucking people it is. It's a lot of people. And then garrison life is trash.
Yeah.
It sucks. So, anyways,
people trained to kill are not made to be in garrison.
No, I was trained to find fucking people and have them killed. I'm not doing my job working on a fucking tank.
So, did you guys talk about the Iron Maiden while I was gone?
No, we
didn't bring it up. No.
Okay,
there's not many actual uses of that though.
No, it would make you slowly bleed to death.
Yeah, but it was proven that it was mainly just there to scare the bejesus out of you. And
so I found some research because I was looking it up because I had heard you say that it wasn't used. It was deterrent.
Yes, there you go. That's a good word for it.
I found out that it was not true. That was not true. They actually found one in Germany.
Yeah.
And
they've done a lot of really fucked up things to people.
So for those of you who don't really know, you really kind of do. It's the stand up.
It's a coffin. It's a sarcophagus.
Coffin. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A sarcophagus with
big old iron spikes everywhere.
And it had 9 in the back.
I don't know.
4 in the front.
Everybody's seen it in a cartoon or a movie.
They're all kind of
and there's all different kinds of spikes.
It's
kind of
like if you've ever seen Matilda. It's the chokey.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But the chokey didn't have spikes. That's all.
Okay.
It was the exact same thing.
It kind of did, though, didn't
it? Everybody's been to a funeral. Think about a coffin. Now imagine there being spikes where you lay and spikes on the door.
Yeah.
That's essentially
But there were 2 doors. So the one door would go into your, midsection.
Yeah.
Then they had, the top door for, your head, because you could actually close that middle door and still have your head there. So the top door, though, had the 2 right for your eyes.
Eyeballs, yeah.
It would have for your eyes, and then you would just slowly bleed to death.
Not a good way to go out.
So the one that they found, it was a few years later after them doing their research, but they found documented proof
Oof.
that it had actually been used.
Now, here's another one that may or may not be proven. Because a whole lot of things weren't really well documented back in the Viking era.
Oh, I was. This is the last one I have written down. So go ahead.
The blood eagle.
Yeah, this one's good. I also heard about this being used by the Native Americans.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, what is?
Basically, they would cut you down your spine. So from your back, rip your fucking ribs out. Outward.
Oh, and
Pull your fucking lungs out.
woo!
Yeah, pull your fucking lungs out and over, and then like fucking hang you up so you look like a fucking eagle like hanging.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, you probably wouldn't die right away because they're not cutting into your spine; they're cutting the flesh around your spine and breaking your ribs,
Yeah, they're just
which would not
ripping
kill
the
you.
ribs out.
That's not. I mean, they're not harming your vital organs.
No.
They're.
You would eventually bleed to
Exposing
death.
them.
You would eventually bleed to
They're
death.
just reassembling you.
Sure, you would. You would. Oh, that would be terrible.
It'd be a long, long, painful death.
Yeah.
So here's a torture that I don't think any of us talked about. It was crucifixion.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up because it's so popular. Like, not popular, but everybody knows about it because the symbol of the Christian church is the cross.
But what people fail to realize is that was used a lot.
Yes. Well, I
Not just Jesus and the two other fucking dudes who died
but
along with
if you
him.
actually look into the history of Christianity and like Jesus' disciples, several of them were also crucified. Throughout Christianity's history, early Christians were, a lot of them were crucified. It was used an insane amount in that time frame,
Right.
before and after.
But it wasn't
Jesus.
just like...
It wasn't just Jesus.
Oh.
no,
and
it
those two
wasn't
dudes.
just like the Bible,
No.
like...
It's depicted in Game of Thrones. They crucified all those guys.
They did.
She went to go take over a city. Daenerys went to take over a city, and all of the elite in that city, she crucified all the way along the road to the city.
And
think it was
typically
Marine.
they would also disembowel you.
Yeah. Well, and so crucifixion could be a really fast or a really slow death.
Depending
because
on what they want.
Eventually you would die of thirst.
Yeah.
Unless they gave you water, and then eventually you'd starve to death. Or you bleed to death. But sometimes they would tie you to the cross, not nail you to the cross, so you wouldn't even be bleeding at all.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you'd die from sun exposure, or crows would come peck out your eyes, or some
Crazy shit.
horrid shit would happen to you.
Yeah, so the invention of torture is kind of a little foggy.
People are just fucked up.
So people are fucked up, but
There's falling.
but
Someone throwing
inevitably,
you off a building or a cliff.
the beginnings of torture were actually a way to
Deter crime. No?
to prove whether you were like pure or
Oh.
because like they would burn you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
the witches.
and then depending on how fast you healed. Yeah, well this is some fucking medieval shit, but depending on how fast you healed, I was reading this, that would then determine on whether you needed a sentence carried out on you
further punishment.
because that would be your, God would heal you if you're not guilty.
God.
But if you are guilty, then that
Poor Joe Simo's got a fucking third-degree burn.
yeah.
His arm's fucking falling apart.
and they would do shit like that. Obviously, then burning at the stake. I was reading, which I didn't know. They would obviously Salem witch trials, things like that, and all over the world, they would always burn witches, the people they believed to be witches. And I don't remember why they would actually burn them, but I know there was a reason.
I'm not sure. One thing related to the Salem witch trials is one of the witches, quote unquote, that was executed. Her husband was also executed for assisting her or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was killed by, how did they phrase it? Essentially, they crushed him to death. They piled weight on him
I
until he
was
died.
going to say that. It could either be fast.
Well, so they said the witches, when they were burning them at the stake, if they admitted to their witchcraft, they would actually...
Heresy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. They would actually strangle them.
So they die fast.
So they die faster.
Isn't there also something about if they scream while they're being burned?
There was all kinds of stuff with
Because, like,
witches.
if they didn't scream, like, they were using their witchcraft to protect
Yeah.
themselves or something. I don't know.
Right.
There's all kinds of shit.
Right.
If they float, then they're the same weight as a duck. So if they're the duck and...
And if they float, they're made
Remember
of...
Monty Python, The Quest for the Holy
Which
Grail?
means they're
She
made
goes,
they're made of wood. And what does wood
floats
do?
on-
Wood burns.
Wait, what floats on water?
Small
wood,
pebbles.
very small rocks.
And he goes,
if she's the same weight as a duck, she's a witch, and we'll burn her.
Yeah.
She turned me into Newt.
And he goes,
Huh?
well, he goes,
I got better.
that's what he said. Yeah. And what else floats? Wood. Yes.
So she's made of wood.
So if a witch is made of wood, I don't remember it all, but
Yeah,
they're all trying to figure it
so
out.
good.
The Newt part is one of my favorite. I got better.
I got better.
Ban the witch.
And she's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because she's like, she knew it. She's like, oh, fuck. Because they put her on the scale with was it a swan or a goose
was
or a
a
duck or something?
duck.
And it balances out.
So
And she's like, oh.
if she weighs the same as a duck,
Oh god.
Have you
she's
never
a
seen
witch.
that?
No, I haven't seen the
Oh my god, that's
I haven't
what we
seen
should
the
do.
Holy Grail.
We should do that on the show. We should do a commentary of the Monty Python: The Quest for the Holy Grail. It is so good. It is the best Monty Python movie by far.
yes.
Is that the one with the lovely bunch of coconuts?
No.
Which one is that?
They do.
fucking lying.
Wait, they do
Well,
have the coconuts, and as they walk around, they have their page behind them clicking.
They don't
coconuts,
actually have
and they're,
horses,
They're,
they're
pretending
clicking
they're
their
riding
coconuts.
horses.
I've seen half of it.
Their squires are clicking the coconuts, and
and then the rabbit.
I've seen
he's got
basically.
big fangs.
I've seen like almost half.
I love how it ends with a raid by the government arresting everyone because they murdered the reporter at the beginning of the movie.
Oh,
Another really funny
That
thing:
would be a good
if you
one.
had the special edition of the DVD,
I do.
okay, go on to it and you go into the features or where it's like for the hearing impaired, and you click it, and they just scream the menu at you. They're like, "Play movie!"
I think I've done.
It's so funny. And then also, if you read the entire credits,
the beginning.
like,
Yeah,
about alpacas and
so
llamas,
great.
and then like people getting sacked, it's hilarious.
it's so great. It really
there are
is.
so many little tiny things in that movie.
And there's
The
actually
whole swallow thing,
is that an African swallow?
African or European? Well, I don't know. Ah! Yeah. Trust me, you'll love this movie. It's great. I highly recommend it for anybody.
And there's quite a bit of torture in that movie.
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
You stupid English conniggets.
I fought in your general direction.
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries.
elderberries.
So actually, I read an article about this where,
That was actually an insult back in the day.
yes, so the reason,
From the French.
the reason that he called your mother a hamster is because she has sex so much and reproduces so frequently, and your father smells of elderberries because he's an alcoholic and he smelled like elderberry wine.
Yeah, I read the same thing.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I thought that was funny.
All right. Sure.
And the castle of,
We are the knights who say me.
you must find the tallest tree in the forest and cut it down with a herring. It makes no sense. We're just throwing these out. No sense. Watch the movie. Total sense. It's just a flesh wound.
What are you going to do? Bleed on me?
I'll bite your bloody legs off.
Get back here!
This is so good. There are so many
Like I
lines
said,
in that movie.
I've seen pretty much the first half.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to watch.
Like I get half those references because it's on the first.
So
half.
you haven't seen the Holy Hand Grenade?
Oh, God. No. The count shall be 3. Never shall the count be 2 unless you proceed to 3 thereafter.
Counting to 4 is
4 is out of the question.
outright. Anyways, we've gotten quite a bit off topic, and
It's about on par for us.
Yeah, and we're working to make these a little bit shorter for you, so you
But
can.
easier to
That's gone
consume.
So fucking well.
Yeah, we're
only 45 minutes in. This is about where we thought about.
Yeah,
I mean, do we have any other ones we need to?
I'm
bring
sure
up?
there are just a ton more.
There were some Native American ones, like the burying people near an anthill and putting honey on their face.
Ooh,
the
yeah, shit like
And
that.
then eventually the ants would eat you to death. That's another one
pendulum.
I wanted to bring up. The pendulum, where it would arc past you
And
it would
slice.
slowly cut you.
Yeah.
And then eventually it would slice you in half.
Oof.
Lots of
That is
fucked
a
up stuff.
terrible way
Humans
to
are
go.
terrible. Let's just be honest. Humans are awful.
We talked about it in the War of 1812. Like countries did fucked up shit. Well, those countries are made of the same people who
Yeah, the
do
blood
fucked
eagle.
up shit.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Smallpox blankets,
Yeah.
right?
Oof.
And that's fucked
For
up.
anyone who didn't research that between the last, I don't know, it was two
It'll be
episodes
two
ago.
episodes.
Yeah, the Trail of Tears. Obviously, you should know what that is. You should have learned about that in school. And if you don't know what that is, fucking learn yourself and get on the goddamn internet and look it up because it's part of your fucking country's history. It's a reason you should fucking treat Native American people better. Also, smallpox blankets, big part of that. Where I'll give you the rundown. The United States government infected fucking blankets with smallpox and gave them to Native Americans, who then contracted smallpox and they had no immunity to it because we brought it here from fucking Europe because we're shitholes.
Right.
And we fucking killed tons of people. Anywho, I'm starting to, the rum is starting to soak into my system. I'm getting drunk, so we should probably end this episode before I start being
But that's
angry.
a bit of a torture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we tortured the Native American people.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes torture was not meant for death. Sometimes it was. Just depends on what they wanted. Voila.
All right. Any further things about torture? Don't torture people
Yeah,
emotionally,
it's
physically, or wherever.
It's frowned
Falcon's
upon.
mother.
Too late. Already been. Shut the fuck up! So I can tell my goddamn story. Yes. So, look at the. Woo. All right. Well, anything further? All right. Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of Reckless Nonsense. I was your host, Mike.
I'm Petey.
I'm Falcon.
Oh, Pete, your pants is so cool.